So, well, good evening, all, and welcome to A Life in the Arts. And tonight we are just really excited to be visiting with Michael McBride and Samuel Roberts, who are both dancers and former members of the Alvin Ailey Company. And um, we want to hear what you're doing now. But first, we're going to ask Todd to deliver the lead-in plug for the Masterwork Foundation.
Yes. Thanks for joining us, folks. The Masterwork Music and Art Foundation has been supporting excellence in the arts for over 50 years. And today they do so, we do so, by offering 3 different levels of grants: a Premier Award, Community Arts Awards, and Competitive Awards. We also have free classes and this Zoom series, A Life in the Arts, that celebrates the people who've dedicated their lives to the arts. So tonight's a very special interview. We're very happy to have Michael and Sam here. And with that, take it away, Joe.
Okay. Well, the first thing, Todd gives me this wonderful crib sheet every week, just as a framework. And we'll do some of it and we'll ignore other parts and we'll make up something for the rest of it. But let's see where we go. The first thing here is actually a very good thing, which is it's the origin story. And, now obviously you both wound up in dance. And I don't know, what I'd like to hear is what's the path that led you there? For each of you.
Yeah, would you like to go first?
Sure, I'll go first. So I grew up in a small town in Pennsylvania, Quakertown, Pennsylvania, and my mom, for weekends, would teach us social dances. So we grew up dancing with the family. That was something that we did all of the time. So, I was just around dance my whole life, and I guess around like the age 7 or 8, I started watching Michael Jackson videos, and then I would choreograph them and do them for the family. And they would give me $5 to put on a show. So I was doing Michael Jackson videos. I was choreographing stuff and doing that by myself. So it was just always in my life. It's always been around me. I think at the age of 10, one of my cousins one summer was like, "Hey, I'm going to dance class. Why don't you join me?" And I went, and I have never sat down since. So that's my sort of story.
Okay, Michael.
So similarly, actually, my sisters both danced, and I'm originally from Johnson City, New York, small town, upstate, about 3 hours from New York. And there was a dance studio, maybe a 5-minute walk from our house, and so it was very convenient for the kids to go there, especially my 2 older sisters. And so they started dancing, and I was young, and I would go with my mom to pick them up. And I wanted to do it, and so I asked my mom and my dad. I think I started asking around 6 is what I feel like I was told, and then they finally caved at 8 when I was 8, and I started. And then so I danced all throughout junior high, high school, and then I went to the Ailey Fordham Bachelor of Fine Arts program here in New York City at Lincoln Center. And and then I joined the company shortly, or actually at the end of my junior year of college, and I finished my senior year while I was still while I was on tour.
That must be challenging.
It was good. Luckily, I kind of double dutied while I was in school. I was considering a double major, but then I just kind of shifted that to a minor when I found out I got the job of my dreams.
That sounds like a good move. Anyway, which leads us to the next question is, what was dancing with Alvin Ailey like?
Me?
That's for both of you.
It was wonderful. I mean, obviously it was a dream come true for both of us. It was a lot of work as well. I mean, we travel about 6 months out of the year, and we don't get to see our families. So we have to leave everything that we know behind, and we're on the road doing a lot of work. Our rehearsal days were like about 10 to 7. So we would have a class starting at 10:30, an hour, 50-minute class, and then we would have 7 hours of rehearsal. So that was our daily schedule when we were rehearsing. And when we were in performances, we would be in the theater at around noon, and the performances went down at around 10:30, sorry, finished around 10:30. So those were our days. So it was pretty arduous. So yeah, I feel like that.
Yeah.
It was a dream though. I mean, it was something that I think both of us really found a lot of ourselves in the company. You create a family lifestyle because you're around these people all the time traveling, and you learn them like the back of your hands, and you can tell who to avoid with the, like, when you walk in the theater, and who's having a good day, who's not. And but the thing about Ailey that is so amazing is that it's a repertory company. So every day was different. And that is why we were in the theater so much, because the performance that you're going to see tonight is not the performance you'll see tomorrow night.
Right.
There were 2 to 3 casts of every ballet, sometimes 4, and 30 pieces of repertory that were constantly shuffling around. And so it was just a lot. It was amazing though. And we did travel to so many wonderful places, both domestically and abroad. Yeah, and looking back now after leaving, it was really wonderful to be a part of something so much greater than me. It was such a there's such a legacy tied to Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater, and that was such a joy to be a part of.
Yeah, and sorry, to Michael's point, the sort of having to live up to a legacy like that gives you incredible purpose. I think that Michael and I, when Michael said you become yourself, having to fulfill that purpose, or sorry, fulfill that legacy, really gives you a lot of purpose, so that you know what your life is about, you know what it's for, you dedicate yourself to that in a way that you probably never can in any other venue, you know, in any other part of your life. I mean,
Well, I was going to say it's probably like going directly into the New York Philharmonic if you play an instrument. It's like, oh, you know. And here's an Alvin Ailey quote that Todd suggested. I love creating something where there was nothing before. And was that, I mean, was that something you heard, or is that something he only told the press, or whatever?
Well, I mean, so neither Sam nor I had the honor to meet Mr. Ailey, but there are so many quotes that float through the organization.
Right.
They speak so much of Mr. Ailey, and making something out of nothing is exactly the kind of the energy that he wanted in the studio. Because it is a repertory company, as I said, there's new creation happening all the time, and new choreographers are coming in, and the dancers are being asked to be super physically apt and versatile. You never know if Wayne McGregor is coming in this season, who is the resident choreographer for the Royal Ballet in England, or Ron Brown, who finds his roots in West African and modern dance movements, or Rennie Harris doing hip hop house work. You never know, or classic modern work like Paul Taylor. So it was something out of nothing all the time. You never knew what we were going to be doing whenever we walked into the studio. So that was so beautiful.
I think also, depending upon where you were in the world, sort of making something out of nothing. Sometimes the stages were, you know, a traditional stage. Sometimes it was a theater in the round that our crew had to create a stage for us. So there were just so many circumstances being on the road. I mean, sometimes you got to a place and you couldn't be in the theater because it was closed down. Like, you really had to make a way out of nothing when you got to places that weren't prepared for you, or that you weren't prepared for. So.
I have a little bit of experience in what in the theater we call found space tours. And it's interesting. But
Yeah.
no, the other thing I was just, you know, out of what you were saying before, just talking about your day, and it occurs to me that people who haven't really had that much contact with the dance world don't realize that. Whereas, I mean, an instrumentalist can get to the point where they don't have to practice 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that dancers ever really can.
The best,
I mean, if you're dancing in performance,
Yeah.
that's that's practice too. But yeah,
the best way to get in shape is never get out of it.
yes,
Yeah. And that was the thing. There is no shape like Ailey shape.
Yeah. That was one of the biggest surprises with leaving the company, realizing how much we actually had to do as non-members to keep the shape and the body that we had when we ran the company. It was like, my God, I think I have to get up and get on the treadmill until I go to bed in order to have that sort of shape that I had at the company. Yeah. So.
Well, I was going to say, because that was that was another thing Todd had mentioned, is that you left the company kind of just before all of this COVID stuff started. So that must have made it difficult to transition into whatever you were trying to do next, because suddenly you don't have audiences, or at least not ones here that are in front of you. So I don't know, what was that like?
Well, it started off really great because Michael and I got engaged about 2 years before we left the company, because we knew that we wanted to buy an apartment first, and then we would have our wedding. So we got engaged. We saved for 2 years, and I also told Michael I really wanted to do like a mini retirement. After we left Ailey, like I really wanted to take a year off, but that didn't end up being feasible. And we decided that we would take 3 months, and we went on a pre-moon honeymoon.
Yeah, like we went on a honeymoon before the wedding.
And so
you made up something new. It's great.
Yeah. So we spent 3 months traveling. We went to India. We started off in Sydney. We went to Sydney for 8 days. New Zealand, we traveled from the South Island to the north for 3 weeks. India for a month, and then Italy for a month. And we traveled around in all those places. So it started out really amazing. It was really wonderful, this mini tour for us with no dancing, which was really great. We got to sleep in, we got to eat, we got to do everything that we've ever wanted to do. Then we came back and got married, which is
like gearing up. Yeah. We are gearing up.
Really
this is now the fall of 2019.
Yeah, 2019. And then we're, and it takes a lot of time to be known in this new part of our industry, which is, the Broadway commercial side of things. Not everyone is affiliated with Ailey and what it means and its significance. So it took us a moment to get things rolling. And just in March, when we had just booked everything for our summer, we had 4 or 5 months of work coming up.
Boom.
It was drop. Yeah. They were dropping it like it was hot. It was silence. Radio silence.
Radio silence.
Which was amazing that we got to tour, we got to travel and enjoy. We went on the trip of our lives right before the pandemic. So that was wonderful.
Great.
After, and then we came and had to stay in our 1-bedroom apartment in New York. So it was
Oh boy.
No, but luckily we've toured with Ailey, and so we've lived in hotel rooms for most of the year. We're close, but we're with small spaces.
Yeah, and fortunately at the time we had a dog Boston Terrier named Daz, so we had to leave the apartment. Each of us took turns 3 times a day to get out and walk the dog and that stuff. So we had some alone time, some fresh air time. So
the dog was
the dog saving grace. The dog helped us.
But so to Sam's point, it's interesting to break into a new field regardless is difficult, humbling. But specifically when you're not allowed to be in rooms, so much of what we do is perform, and it's a physical thing. And so when you have to self-tape or submit online these auditions, it becomes very different because you don't get to see the nuance of a person in the space. You're also not meeting the other people who would be at the auditions, then that become your community that can help find you a job the next time, because so often jobs come from the people you've worked with before or people who find you talented in the space. And so that's been interesting to navigate. But we're trying, and we're doing it, and we're continuing, and keeping our heads high. And
just Michael is really transitioning more into musical theater, and I'm doing that as well, but I have a primary focus in television, film, acting. So for me, the self-tapes have actually been a blessing, because eventually I would be on camera anyway. So getting to be in my own space and work at my own pace to put something on screen to send in is actually better for me, as opposed to being in the room, getting 1 or 2 shots to kind of go at it with other people. I find it more assuring to do that on my own as far as the self-tapes are concerned. But when I am doing a self-tape that is dance or Broadway oriented, I would much prefer to be in the room, because the atmosphere and the environment brings so much to what you would give.
Yeah, there is really nothing like having somebody there. I directed theater in many years ago, and that was there's kind of this feeling of electricity in the room, and it's like nothing else. I mean, at all, nothing else. So a couple of things, and I haven't seen this, but Todd says I should ask you about a PBS documentary on American Masters this last year. And it was about Alvin Ailey. And he says it delved into some very personal struggles. Well, life in the arts is that. And so did you feel it was a fair portrayal? Of course, you didn't work directly with him, but still.
So we haven't worked with him directly, but we've worked with so many people who hold him to the highest regard, and we hold him to the highest regard.
Right.
I think the thing that was so beautiful about this documentary is that it removed him from the organization. So the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater is the cultural ambassador to the world named of Congress. And so it has been lifted and lifted and lifted, that sometimes you forget there was this incredibly artistic and troubled at times human that created and started this at a time where this didn't exist.
Creating something out of nothing.
Well, I was going to say the company is and it's a separate creation.
And so it was, I thought it was so touching and so beautiful, and it's based on Jennifer Dunning's biography of him. And I mean, it actually touches about his homosexuality, him passing from AIDS, him being in the hospital, him going through mental illnesses, and
I think all in all, we would say it's a fair, accurate portrait of who he is. And I think that the most beautiful touch is the fact that they had him narrate it himself. I think that that's really wonderful, that they used all of his words and that to narrate the film, which is
I have to go see this. I'll have to find if there's a streaming service somewhere that
I think you can just go on pbs.com .org,
and it's on Amazon as well. I think it's on a lot of the streaming.
Anyway, so the other thing is, and I've seen some pictures of this with the Hudson Valley Dance Festival, and which Todd helped found, and gee, I wonder how he came to know you. Anyway, and he said your performance of Robert Battle's Strange Humors, and it's, well, I'm just looking at some of the pictures here, and I don't know if I can share my screen properly to get these. Let's see if we can do that. This is not, it doesn't make the image any bigger, and that's what I want, but okay. Zoom to fit. Yeah, but then it becomes very fuzzy, so let's go back. Oh, why is it never easy? But that's because it never is. That's okay. All right. I'm going to see if I can share this and have it at least be visible. So If it doesn't, well, we tried.
Yeah.
There we go. And here. And can you see it?
Yes,
we can see it. That's actually a portrait of us in Fire Island, the Fire Island Dance Festival.
Doing
Okay.
called Birth of the Blues.
Ah,
That actually transpired because of our performance at Hudson Valley Dance Festival.
Yes, this is what came from the Hudson Valley Dance Festival performance.
actually, there's another picture that I have here that I mean, I've got. That's really the one real dance, but there's one that I must share.
Oh, that's actually from
And that's a very special and important one. And I'm a lot older than you folks, and I grew up in a world where that wouldn't have happened. And I'm much happier to be in the world we're in now in terms of that. So anyway, all right. I don't know. Did you want to try to share? You'd given me some brief video.
Yeah, maybe.
How about this one? And do you want this one or do you want the commercial?
We can't see what you're clicking right now.
Oh, well, hold on. So then I'll have to reshare it. That's all.
While
Picky, this Zoom is. No, I've been struggling with Zoom trying to get some audio that I have from a previous participant and trying to get it to match up with a couple of slides so that and make it so that you can hear it and it isn't scratchy and awful. And I've been having just too much fun this afternoon with that. But anyway, okay, can you can see this, right?
Yes, we can see. That's the yes.
And now let me see if that's not okay. Let's go to full screen. Did that just got bigger?
Yes.
Wonderful. And this is about 3 minutes long.
Yeah,
And
no sound.
Hold on, let's stop it then, because I can get that. I know how to fix. Because I've been back and forth over this for so many times today. And what you have to do is there's a little box you have to check. And then it's video, and I'm going to check that box too. And we have any sound? No, I see why.
My name is Samuel Lee Roberts. I am originally from Quakertown, Pennsylvania, and this is also my 9th season with the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater.
When people join the company, we are a touring company. We are on the road about 6 or 7 months out of the year. And so we have to have roommates on tour, and we basically
we're
were
not seeing
left.
the visual.
And so we said,
Hey, you
sure.
want to be my roommate?
Oh, well, I'm sorry. Well, let's try it. Maybe I can do it this way. I don't know yet. The last 2 days, for some reason, Zoom has been defeating me. I've been not trying to do anything terribly complicated, but let's see. So, all right, that might work better. Let's try. Let's go.
There's the video.
That's the video.
And let's see if the sound happens.
My name is Michael Francis McBride. I'm originally from Johnson City, New York, and I've been with the Ailey Company. This is my 9th season.
My name is Samuel Lee Roberts. I am originally from Quakertown, Pennsylvania, and this is also my 9th season with the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater.
When people join the company, we are a touring company. We are on the road about 6 or 7 months out of the year. And so we have to have roommates on tour, and we basically were left. And so we said,
Hey,
sure.
you want to be my roommate?
I just needed somebody to sit down to dinner with one night, and I told Sam that he was going to dinner with me. All of a sudden it was awkward to be next, it was the fumbly awkwardness. And
I make you nervous.
We started in 2 beds, and the laptop was between the beds, and the bottle of wine was there.
Beds were getting
and the beds were getting closer, and then eventually I got in the bed so that we could watch it more efficiently. So it's really amazing to have a friend and a confidant that kind of travels and sees the world with you.
And he feels the same way that I do about dance. So the unwavering support and the honesty of what he would say about my dancing is invaluable, you know. I was on tour and I don't know what happened. Something happened. That morning I woke up and I was like, oh my God, I'm going to ask Michael to marry me. And then I hatched this plan, the proposal as a, what is it called, flash mob. And we'd watch Glee together.
I mean, I'm a cheese ball, like real cheese ball, like cheesier the better.
And it was a task. It was a task, but I'm so glad I did it. It made me so happy, and all of our friends got to be a part of it.
He was so rigid. He was just upright and he had his raincoat all the way up, and I was like, you're so weird.
For my part, I was like sick to my stomach. I thought I was gonna vomit the whole time. I was like, can this please start and be over? I mean, Michael's trying to have a conversation with me, and I'm just like, yeah, no, I can't.
In the video, you couldn't see, like, he gets up and I'm like, what are you doing? I was like, sit down. Like, it all went whop in my face. I think I like blacked out for a second because I was so like, oh my God, this is happening. And then I just lost it with each person. And then his nephews, his youngest nephew handed him the ring. And it was like, it was just really so, it was perfect. It was really, really wonderful.
My favorite thing about Michael is his monkey face. Yes, will you do your monkey face?
It's really not that important, but
how can you not love that? Are you kidding?
All seriousness, I think Sam's eyes are quite telling, and they're loving and warm, and he's my biggest support.
I know growing up, when I did and where I did, I never thought that I would get married, especially not to a man. I never thought that I don't even think that I thought that I would live my life out. And so much has changed since then, and I'm so grateful. And I hope that our story and our love can change that for other people, especially younger people.
Michael McBride, would you please marry me?
We're both working from
Okay. Hold on, we're going to try to. Okay, no, we don't need to hear the rest of the audio for the commercial that followed that. But that's just wonderful. And
that was a bit of our love story. I guess.
yeah, really. And that's, I mean, that's just wonderful. And thank you very much for sharing that with us.
Of course, of course. Yeah, I forgot. We haven't seen it in so long, but they wanted to know how the flash mob happened because I proposed to Michael via flash mob, and they wanted to know what was the story behind that. And that
But to get back to dance a little, when there were some rehearsal videos of us, and I was wearing red and he was wearing blue, and we were just we were rehearsing Strange Humors,
yes.
the piece that we did at Hudson Valley Dance Festival.
Yes, in that video.
And that Robert Battle duet originally was Sam and Kervin in the company, Kervin Douthit Boyd, and I performed it with Ronaldo Maurice, and we actually did the same part.
Yes.
And it was that festival was the first time I had to switch roles because Sam has been performing that duet for a very long time. Since inception, but for a long time.
Yeah.
And you can speak of your relationship with Robert.
So prior to joining the Ailey company, I was a founding member of Battleworks, which was Robert Battle, who is the current artistic director, third and current artistic director of the Ailey company. This was his founding company. And I was fortunate to work with Robert for, I would say, about 10 to 11 years before making my way into the Ailey company. And I got to perform Strange Humors for all of those years, which was really wonderful. And I also had the really wonderful fortune to, Robert created a solo on me called Inside, which I got to perform with the Ailey company as well. And they're actually doing it in their current season. And I had the really lovely fortune of my first season doing the solo, and the day before Christmas, I had a half-page photo in the Times with a review of my solo, which was really wonderful. So I love the solo. I'm forever indebted to Robert Battle for creating it on me. And I'm so happy that it is still happening with the current company.
Both that solo and Strange Humor's quintessentially Robert Battle's work is very physically demanding.
Yeah. Well,
Falls, and it's very exciting for the audience and sometimes for the performers.
yeah. Well, those things always are. But actually, Todd's got a great question. We can't leave this one out. It says that some of our viewers are familiar with the challenges of working with their spouses. Well, how does that play out for two dancers? And what's the best thing and the worst thing about it?
So I would say that our time at Ailey, in a concert dance setting, the role is much more based on how you move, how you dance. And so Sam and I we performed a lot of the same roles at Ailey, where now we're entering a world that is more, it's just more based on
So
typecasting.
we would never play the same character,
really, and so it's very different now. But I think that we became a support system for each other on tour, or learning things in the studio, because we often got to learn some of the same stuff. The working together was always easy, I felt, because Ailey, also there's 30 dancers and the space is always, everybody's in the space together. So it was more like, 8 weeks living in a hotel room, only to come home to a small studio apartment, because there was a period where Sam was still living in Pennsylvania commuting, and I had my studio here in New York, and so he would then stay, and so it just became close quarters. And when we were looking to expand our apartment, the only requirement was that there was a door other than the bathroom. We just needed another space. But working together, I say this to I think I'm a very frenetic individual, and I can get quite anxious. And I think Sam is my grounding force. He meditates regularly and is very practical and pragmatic when needed, when I start having a meltdown. So it's I think it's great.
Yeah, and I like to feel needed. So.
There you go. I could guess the real thing that comes up for me is, okay, what now? I mean, hey, we don't have the excuse of the pandemic anymore. So now we got to do it. Now we all have to go do something.
Yeah. Well, I actually was, like I said, I'm really moving more into acting. I've always wanted to be an actor, and dance sort of just happened for me. And I think, and it's been wonderful. I've had a really great life because of dance. I've gotten to do some things that I never thought I would. But I've always wanted to be an actor. And I think also the way that I approach dance is from acting. I create characters and I try to tell stories on stage, as opposed to being the most technically proficient dancer. I don't think that anyone would ever compare me to Brishnikov in my technical prowess, but they would certainly say that I can tell a story like, no one else. And I think that that's why Robert was able to create Inside on me. But that being said, I really want to do that in television and film now. So my first project that I did over the pandemic actually is I produced and starred in a short film called Forgotten Song. And this is actually the t-shirt from it, which I'm wearing here, shameless plug, but not so shameless. And it's done really well. We actually had a premiere at the Hollywood Chinese theaters in LA. We had a premiere in Times Square with the Big Apple Film Festival. And there were several others, international and domestic. And then the final one, we just had our premiere in Lincoln Center with Dance on Camera Festival to finish out our year film festival. So that was really wonderful. And it showed me that I can actually do this. So I, along with the director of that film, I put this project together with a friend who was a choreographer, Tyler Gilstrap, and our director, which was Tobin Del Corey, who was also a dancer that I knew from Juilliard. Anyway, he was a director, but he and I are now writing a screenplay together for another short that we would love to turn into a feature. So yeah, that's where I am as far as what's next. And I have a lot of self-tapes, weekly self-tapes, trying to get into other projects, but I don't want to wait for someone to tell me that I can do this. I'm creating something for myself to do in time, as well as auditioning for, you know, other stuff. But that's where I am for.
And for me, I count myself very fortunate during the last year, 2021. I found opera, which was something I had never done, and both Sam and I got to perform in the Santa Fe Opera. We did a Midsummer Night's Dream last summer, and I did the Chicago Lyric Operas, Florencia and El Amazonas, while Sam was in LA Opera doing Tannhäuser. And so opera was something that kept me on stage during the pandemic when theaters were opening, and Santa Fe was really nice because the theater is like 3 walls are gone and it's in the desert. It's stunning, really beautiful,
amazing place. Yes.
And then we got to do I got to do a few like small movie musical-y things, low budget kind of really wonderful projects that I got to meet some new people and network, and that's really, I'm building my network. I'm self-taping. I have a wonderful agent who's keeping me and my brain at bay, and I'm just working my way into this new business, and it's really it has been humbling, but it's also really wonderful, because the thing is that you know, you build this reputation or this feeling, this ego, which is silly a little bit, because Ailey was something that was so grand and so amazing, and we got to do some wild things and entertain with some people. But I definitely was leaving after 10 years because I knew that if I didn't, I wouldn't get to try other stuff. And after 10 years, it's really hard to start from zero again. And I have definitely started from zero again. And it's good. And I'm really happy to be meeting, again, new people, new network, and exploring. I'm the consummate yes man right now. If somebody says, let's try this thing, I'm on board, just because I'm kind of letting the universe guide me in whatever way. But I will say I'm gearing towards musical theater and Broadway. That's where my
we also have been able to work a little bit as a couple. We've done a couple of ads for a furniture company. We have also, I think we shared a link with you. We did for Thompson Hotels. We did an ad together. So we're getting to do some of that work together as well whenever we can. So that's really wonderful.
That's wonderful. Yeah.
And finding teaching and giving back to the community as well when we can. Yeah. So.
Well, thank you very much for sharing with us. This has just been a wonderful 40 minutes, and just I'm really, really happy to meet you guys. And Todd, he's got to do. There he is. He gets to do his last 30-second spot.
Well, I have to admit to a first. I can't believe I just cried during a BuzzFeed clip. But thank you, gentlemen. Your artistry is a gift to us all. And I think for any of our viewers, the best thing you can do is see these guys perform live, whether it's acting with Sam or musical theater with Michael. We'll be pulling together a blog post on this where we'll have lots of links. And also, I want to note, you'll see that from masterworkarts.org. Also coming up for Masterworks very soon is on March 19th, there's a concert. So our premier awardee for 2021, Colin Lynch, is a concert organist, and he's having a concert in Morristown. Year 2, you can find out more about that at masterworkarts.org. But Michael and Sam, thank you so much.
Yes.
It's such a pleasure. And you're so terrifically talented. We're so anxious to see where you go from here.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much. We're so happy to be a part, and
Okay. All right. And I will